Hello, ladies and gentlemen, the Champions League draw has just happened, so of course, I gotta give you all my very early predictions. The scriptwriters at moments look like they're running out of ideas, but at the same time, they're cooking. For the most part though, this draw is incredible, but for a creator, making these kind of prediction videos is a lot tougher than when it was group by group. Having to analyze each and every schedule and try to place teams based off of that, it's a bit tougher than it seems. And since I'm making this so early, I wrote out all my predictions, but I'm kind of freeballing it as well. So if I miss any information at all about your club, please let me know in the comments below, along with all your predictions as well. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new and leave an early like. If this video hits 5,000 likes, I'll also make my Europa League prediction ASAP. Just like last season, I'm going through my standings from bottom to top, so starting off in elimination zone. For the bottom three, I do apologize to each and every one of these clubs. I truly hope I'm wrong on this prediction as well, but I have gone for Kairat, Karabakh, and Slavia Praha. Now, Kairat is a very exciting debutant for sure. They just topped Celtic for qualifying for their 4th Champions League in a row. They've also got Kazakhstan's greatest wonderkid Satpayev, a 17-year-old who actually belongs to Chelsea. He's already gotten 15 direct goal contributions this season. Now, it is very easy to underestimate a side with no history in the Champions League, and don't worry, I won't for everyone in the debutants. But let's face it, some of them are definitely getting eliminated in the earliest stage, and I think Kairat is one of the easier targets. Especially with the fact that the only European tournament they've qualified for prior was the first ever edition of the Conference League. And there they lost every single match in the group stage. Now, this ground is not going to be fun to travel to. I do believe this is one of the most east clubs to ever participate in the Champions League. Long distances in the future, it's going to be freezing in Almaty depending on the time of season as well. I could see 1 or 2 shock results come from this side, but at the end, it will be too hard for them to be consistent throughout this tournament, especially with so many prestigious clubs here. But looking at their schedule, it's not looking good. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle Real Madrid at home, but traveling to Milan and London, they could sneak some points in against another debutant, Paphos, but even then I think that might be tricky. Now moving on to Karabakh, this will be the Azerbaijani club's 2nd ever appearance in the Champions League. Similar to Kairat, I could see them getting 1 shock result, but at the end, not being consistent enough. Last season in the Europa League, they finished at rock bottom with 1 win and 7 defeats. Their only win came against Bodo Glimt though, meaning they became the only team to defeat Bodo while traveling away, apart from Tottenham in the knockouts. Trust me, we'll get into Bodo's ground later while we're covering them. Traveling to their stadium is a nightmare for any team. So this is proof that Karabakh are unfazed and up for any challenge, and also the fact that they are extremely unpredictable. They've got an underrated front line like the 21-year-old striker Akunzada and the Cape Verde international Leandro Andrade. I do want to see this club succeed, and I don't think they'll get absolutely knocked in every match, so best of luck, Karabakh. For Slavia Praha's case, they qualified for this tournament after an incredible domestic season, finishing with 90 points in the championship round for the Czech First League, 16 points over 2nd place Victoria Plzeň. It's a really compact squad, and I really admire some of their talent. They have a decent midfield unit with the likes of Zaferis, Oscar, Sadalik, lots of depth there too, including to be able to utilize the youngster David Moses. And a huge reason why I don't have much faith in them is because they have a very tough schedule. Barcelona, Inter, Arsenal. Say what you want about Atalanta, I still think they're a strong side. The odds for them to succeed don't seem to be so high for most of these matchups. Alright, just like last season, I definitely got for some shock picks in this video that's going to trigger a few amount of you, but here we go. 32 and 32nd, I've got for 2 more debutants, Union Saint-Gilloise and Paphos, but at 31st place, I have chosen Frankfurt. Alright, let's do these again one by one. Union Saint-Gilloise first. I gotta say, the Belgian club's rise has been a work of art. The way that they're able to still adapt and overcome despite all these players leaving and them signing new hidden talent, really, it's truly admirable. I mean, they just got rid of Franjo Ivanovic, and fair play to them for holding on to Buffal this whole time. Now, although this is their first time qualifying for the Champions League, they did have some recent success in European football, making it all the way to the quarterfinals about 2 or 3 years ago in the Europa League. They will cherish this moment, but look who they have to face now. Their draw overall is definitely one of the more difficult ones. Obviously, you can make points about how Atalanta or even Newcastle might not be looking their best, but I still think these sides will be able to grab 3 points against this Belgian club. I'm sorry. Of course, though, they still have a chance. Now, moving on to Paphos, I wanted to bump them up a bit higher, but objectively looking at things, it's probably not looking good for them. I know I already said this many times, but it's just the case for most of these underdogs. I want to see this club do well, but Pafos in particular, I really love one of their players as he's an ex-Dinamo Zagreb legend, Orsic, to their captain Tankovic and Joao Correa. They even just picked up David Luiz. Yes, he's finally returning to Europe and doing so with the club just qualifying for their first ever Champions League. From what I've seen, I could be wrong. I watched them play against Crvena Zvezda just now. They are solid at set pieces. The goal they scored in the second leg was phenomenal. And who knows, they could find inspiration from another Cypriot club that did play in the Champions League, Opal, as they made it all the way to the quarterfinals back in 2011-12. I still think their chances aren't so great, but honestly, looking at their schedule, it's not the worst. Kairat we already talked about. They're also coming up against Slavia Praha, who I put below them. Villarreal and Monaco could both be mixed bags. Their biggest challenges for sure are Bayern, Chelsea, and Juventus. So yeah, I don't see Pafos going out easy. I could see them putting off a fight. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they do much better than I even placed them. Now moving on to Frankfurt. Why would I put a Bundesliga club so low? Well, don't y'all remember what happened last time? I know it's not the same club, but I predicted that Leipzig would be eliminated in the league phase. And all the top comments in my video were coming at me for that. I'm sorry, that's the last time I'll bring it up, I promise. But anyway, my reasoning for Leipzig being so low was because I did not trust their difficult schedule. And right now for me, it's the same case for Frankfurt. Atalanta will without a doubt be an interesting battle, but I really only see them maybe getting points against Galatasaray and Karabakh. This club love to produce some young strikers. They already sold their 2 assets from last season, Hugo Ekitike and Omar Mamouche. Now they've got the 25-year-old Burkhardt from Mainz, who definitely put off decent numbers last season. That's a good signing. They've also got youngster Eli Wahi, even Batshuayi. I do not think this side are bad by any means. They're already off to a flying start in the Bundesliga as well. Again, I'm putting them this low because of the luck of the draw. All right, I'm going to move on, but to be honest, this is not the only surprising team that I've put in elimination zone. All right, from here on out, I'm going to be going one by one since I just keep changing my mind. So for number 30th, a lot of people are going to be upset with me on this one. I'm picking Ajax. This side as a whole in very recent history, it's just kind of hard to trust them right now. I mean, the way they bottled the Eredivisie to PSV was insane. Now they've got Heitinga at the helm, who has seemed to be on a decent start, but I still think we are far from the days from their incredible run back in 2018-19. I know it was under different management, but in the last Europa League campaign, they went way too back and forth with form in the league phase. They had a thrilling final match day against Galatasaray in that tournament, so it'll be interesting to see them face each other once again. But at this current moment of time, I don't really trust Ajax against Europe's top 5 leagues. Some of their opponents are definitely a flip of a coin though. I think it can go either way against Olympiacos, Benfica, Galatasaray. Surely they'll beat Karabakh, but at the same time, I think a lot of their opponents will do much better. So I'm sorry, Ajax, I'm going to put you quite low. Now at 29th place, I'm picking Copenhagen. I wouldn't be surprised if they pull off some upsets, and I'm particularly excited to see what they can do against Dortmund, as they just signed their lifetime wonder kid Moukoko. Imagine he flares it up throughout the competition. And this side have had some great moments throughout Champions League football. The last memorable one was when they were able to top their group over Manchester United and Galatasaray. This is an underdog that I would not be surprised if they prove me wrong, but I'm still going to put them quite low because I have some others that I think might excel over them. At 28th place, I'm putting a club that actually saw a lot of European success recently, Olympiacos. This squad, if they all stay fit, have the ingredients to succeed. For example, they've got the Moroccan striker El Kabi, who set records of how many goals he has scored in European football. Unfortunately, it was in the Europa League and Conference League, but he could easily be motivated to turn up in this tournament as well. They've got the wonder kid Musakitis, Gabriel Stefreza on the wing from Como. This club loved to defy the odds in European football in recent history. They won the Conference League, for example, 2 seasons ago. When many didn't expect them to turn up in the Europa League, they finished in the top 8. Going back to the players, their goalkeeper Tsolakis got a lot of clean sheets in that last Europa League campaign. I think Olympiacos are set to surprise some people. Now, I know their Pot 1 fixtures are not ideal. They're also taking on 2 Dutch clubs, so that will be a real test. But Pafos and Kairat, they should be able to handle. All right, moving on to my number 27 now. It is Sporting. I'm not turning a blind eye to this club just because they lost Gyökeres. They are still doing fantastic right now. They've had a strong start attacking-wise domestically for sure. I mean, who needs Gyökeres when you've got Luis Suarez? They seem to be doing just fine for now without the prolific Swedish goal scorer, but how much longer is it going to last with this tough schedule? I think their manager Rui Borges did a fantastic job to establish themselves once again to dominance after Amorim's departure, but at the same time, I don't want to forget about how much this club slipped in the Champions League once Amorim left. I am worried how they'll do in some of the fixtures, but again, I think it's going to be really neck and neck for that border between teams that just qualified for the knockouts and the ones to just get eliminated. So Sporting, I think, will just get short done by. Now, the next team just to be too unlucky is one where I had the privilege to watch them play live, Galatasaray. This by far is up there as one of the craziest home atmospheres I've ever seen. They're going to give any team traveling there a tough time to play. They're going to definitely get some great victories at home throughout this competition. I don't doubt it. I wouldn't even be surprised if they somehow upset Liverpool. But overall, I'm not a huge fan of their schedule or their inconsistencies in European football. They had a strong start last season in the Europa League campaign. They even beat the eventual champions Tottenham. But then too many unnecessary draws, losing to Ajax on the final day, and then getting knocked out to AZ in the knockout phase. They don't do well against Dutch clubs, and they have to face Ajax again. Now, this squad is looking very strong. They signed Victor Osimhen permanently. That's incredible for them. Icardi's back from injury. They acquired Sané from Bayern Munich. They've got good options in the back line like Singo, Davidson Sanchez. Don't really have a reliable keeper right now, but there's a lot of rumors about Ederson coming through. It's a strong squad. They're going to have their moments in the Champions League tournament without a doubt, but not display enough consistency. They'll be just fine domestically, but in European football, I do see them falling short. Watch them defeat Manchester City, but then lose to Union Saint-Gilloise. And now the last team I'm predicting to just get eliminated, the one to just be on that cutoff, it is Bayer Leverkusen. Switching Xabi Alonso for Ten Hag, every Ronaldo fan's favorite manager, to clean sweeping so many of their star players, still having an admirable squad, but a total revamp might take the team some time to click. Losing Wirtz, Frimpong, Xhaka, Ta. Boniface might exit the club. I can't tell if he's trying with those Milan medicals though. Reports of Nkapie wanting to leave too. I don't even think Ten Hag is a poor manager. I truly believe United are the endless problems for each of their victims. But too many fast changes, and their schedule doesn't even look that bad. But something tells me that their start to the season is not going to be the brightest with so many immediate changes and star players leaving. But who knows, Ten Hag might use his FA Cup masterclass knowledge against Manchester City. Now we move on to the playoff teams. Which ones are we going to start out with to be the ones that are lucky to just make it out alive? Well, at 24th place, I'm going for a club that just finished at the same exact spot last season, Club Brugge. Do you know what? This is a very impressive club. To be fair, I would not be surprised if I'm wrong on this whatsoever, as I already was in my last prediction I made for them. The moment I finally decided to back Rangers, they got annihilated. So I really could see them doing better than my prediction, as their draw is quite doable. They're facing Atalanta again, which will be interesting as they knocked out this side in dramatic fashion in the last Champions League playoff round. They definitely have what it takes to get the best of them again. Surely they'll beat Kairat. Sporting could go either way, and I'm very curious to see how they handle the French clubs. I do really love this team. It's blended with veterans and young talent. Hans Van Aken still leading the side. To Mignolet in goal. They're able to hang on to the Greek baller Solis. That is a huge plus, but either way, this is a proper development club which sells so many of their top talent for profit, but always has new upcoming players bursting into the scene. At 23rd, I'm going for a big dip from last season, Atalanta. They've lost Gasparini and are now relying on Croatian coach Juric, who, to be honest, is not great. Already tried proving himself with an Italian club and it did not go well. One of their best goal scorers, Retegui, has gone to Saudi Arabia, but honestly, I do like his replacement, Nikola Krstovic. I have faith in him to have a decent season. They can still rely on Skamaka as well. Lookman's still there. Pasalic so clutch for the team. Even signing Zalewski. I'm seeing some people are predicting them to do much worse because they have no trust in Juric, but I'm going to say he does have some time to turn things around and save his reputation with this club. He definitely has some doable fixtures to deal with. I think that they might scare themselves a bit in this Champions League campaign, still succeeding though, making it to the playoffs. Now at 22nd place, I have gone for PSV. PSV, similar to Galatasaray, I do see having good success domestically, but internationally, their manager Peter Bros does not really seem to pull the strings together. Looking at their schedule, Bayern Munich and Liverpool are going to be tough. I know they beat Liverpool last time, but at that point, they'd already qualified for the knockouts. Atletico Madrid won't be easy. I could see them getting points against Bayer Leverkusen. It will be interesting to see the Dutch bald managers go head to head, but their best bet at taking points on the surface looks to be either Olympiacos or Union Saint-Gilloise. This team last season defied the odds, where we saw likes of Ivan Perisic setting records for what he was able to achieve at his age against Juventus. Now they've got some young talents to utilize like Bayraktarevic. Hopefully Ricardo Pepi stays fit. Up next though for me is Monaco. This side have been very back and forth in the last Champions League campaign. They go from beating Barcelona to nearly losing to Dinamo Zagreb, but they've got a lot of interesting new arrivals. I forgot to even mention him. They just acquired Bayer Leverkusen's goalkeeper Radecki, Eric Dyer for free, Paul Pogba as a free agent. We'll see how he revamps his career. Ansu Fati, along with their reliable striker Mbolo, American international Balogun, captain Zakaria. I think their squad is oddly stacked and they very much can surprise in this Champions League tournament. I could see them being back and forth in form though. Their schedule is not perfect, but definitely not bad. Monaco might need some time to polish up, but they can definitely surprise some teams here. Now just above them, I'm putting a Europa League semi-finalist, Athletic Club Bilbao. This side were personally my favorites to go on and win the whole thing until they collapsed against Manchester United. But it's hard not to admire this club as they only select players from the Basque region, and they've been doing quite well. I still think Ernesto Valverde is the right man for the job, and they have some key players that they will continue to rely on like Unai Simon, the Williams brothers, a very promising side with not the worst schedule in the world of course. I think mid-table for them is totally justified. At 19th place though, I'm picking Villarreal. I was really torn about where to put this club, but I think in the middle is the safest bet. It's not the flashiest squad, but they've got some hidden gems. Lots of great winger options like Alberto Molero, Yermi Pino, Pepe, and Buchanan. They do have a good amount of injuries, but I also think they have an underrated midfield unit with the likes of Pareo. I was debating having this club being one of the ones to flop, but looking at their schedule, they can definitely go head-to-head with many of these teams. Marcelino has definitely been solid for them, securing the same amount of points as Athletic Club Bilbao, who were deemed to have a solid season. I think Villarreal are a sleeper here, but I think they have what it takes to have a decent season in the Champions League. Now, 18th place is going to be my surprise pick and my underdog of this league phase. It's Bodo Glimt, semi-finalists of the Europa League last season. A lot of people will probably still doubt this Norwegian club, but like I've hinted earlier, they are a nightmare to travel to. Too many teams complain when they travel to the north of the Arctic Circle, as not only do the temperatures get to them, so does their actual stadium, as it's made out of turf. We've already seen many times that this side are able to capitalize against some top teams across the world. Their insane rise is one of their own, and honestly, it's one of the most respectable clubs in all of Europe. I made a whole video about it not that long ago when they were embarking on their Europa League journey, if you want to go check it out. I mean, they knocked out the likes of Lazio in that tournament, and just could not handle Tottenham in the second to last stretch. One of the most unique run clubs though. I mean, so many players have left this club after having incredible seasons prior to then joining back, because this team has such a unique identity that they thrive in better compared to other clubs around the world. Their striker Kasper Høeg is shining bright as well. Loads of goals in the Norwegian league right now. Some teams that are in the Champions League have a higher stadium capacity than the entire city of Bodo. So this would be an incredible story if they could continue to build momentum in European football, and obviously this is their biggest test yet, and I think they're prepared for it. Look who's traveling to them: Manchester City, Juventus, Tottenham, and Monaco. Tottenham, I guess, already have the experience, but I'm curious to see what excuses Pep might make. Surely Haaland won't be two-faced himself. I mean, that is his own nation. Obviously not where he's from, but still much more high up north. But Bodo are going to be my surprise pick in this league phase. I think they have what it takes to squeeze through at least into the playoffs. Top 8 is definitely too ambitious. Now, 17th place is my worst of the Premier League placements. It's Newcastle. Most likely not going to have Isak on their side. Still some rumors of a replacement for him, of course. Despite the poor transfer window, I think this side are still class and are going to have a decent Champions League run. Their draw is not too difficult, and they will be facing PSG again, a side that they were able to defeat last time. Anthony Gordon, despite making some clumsy moves sometimes, what a baller he is. Signing Olenga is definitely an upgrade as well. Their midfield's hard to not appreciate. Tonali and Guimaraes, even Joelinton shifting there. If any Premier League club is going to flop though in the Champions League, this would be my guess, but I think they'll still stay up and make it to the playoffs. Now, 16th place might be a bit of a shock, but I'm picking Juventus. They don't have the worst looking schedule in the world, but they've never beaten Benfica in all of their 5 Champions League meetings, and also don't have the best history against Villarreal. It can go either way with Dortmund. Definitely not the favorites against Madrid. But with all that being said, this squad also went through some questionable times last season, but they seem to be improving under Igor Tudor. Just upgrading their attacking options as well, just acquiring Jonathan David, who was incredible in the last Champions League campaign, by the way, with Lille. Dusan Vlahovic, there was so much doubt about his form, but he's also slightly starting to improve this season. Kenan Yildiz, by far their best young player, even already getting the number 10. I'm just a bit worried for their backline staying fit and sharp. Just above them, I'm putting Marseille. This club doesn't necessarily have the best best reputation amongst the football world, but you cannot deny on the pitch, he has been brilliant for Marseille. 27 goal contributions in 34 matches. Oh, they also have everyone's favorite player Neil Maupay, veteran Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, just signed Timothy Weah as well, managed by De Zerbi, who's been quite impressive so far with this team. I know he already lost his first match in Ligue 1, but they bounced back well against Paris FC. Not an easy schedule, but definitely a doable one. I think Marseille can be at least successful in the league phase. Now at 14th place, this is a club that I think are not in the brightest of situations right now, but they still always seem to be fine in the Champions League regardless. It's Dortmund. Schlotterbeck and Süle will be out for the first 2 match days, which is a huge loss for the back line, but I think they'll be able to pick themselves up decently in this campaign, and I do rate Niko Kovac as a manager. Not to mention their striker Guirassy was one of the top goal scorers of the Champions League last season. I'd say overall their schedule is definitely not too bad. They definitely have what it takes to defeat even one of the pot 1 teams. Dortmund will probably have some hiccups throughout the season like they usually do, but I still think they'll be alright at the end. Just above them though, I'm putting one of their opponents, Manchester City. Last season, they even had a scare that they might not qualify for the knockout phase, and they still went on to lose in that first playoff round to Real Madrid, who by the way, of course, they are facing again. UEFA love this matchup too much, and it's definitely their toughest task, but I definitely see some of these underdogs sneaking points against them. Even Bodo have the chance. Like I said, they're traveling all the way there. This side are still too unpredictable. None of us are going to forget about the horrible form they went on last season. San Marino even got more wins than them in November. I don't know, last time I put City in the top 8, and I definitely regretted that decision. We'll see if I haunt myself now for not putting them all the way up there, but I think it's fair to put them just outside. Now, a team I'm putting quite high here, which might be ambitious, is Benfica. Now, they did lose some great players like Di Maria, but in many of these fixtures, this side should never be ruled out, and they always have an interesting affair with Juventus. In fact, Benfica beat Juventus in the Champions League every single time they faced. Surely they're going to take points from some of these top 5 league teams. I just can't tell which ones. Another fear I have is one of their better players, Kerem Aktürkoğlu, is rumored to go to Fenerbahce, which is kind of funny because he is the reason why they did qualify for the Champions League over Fenerbahce, being the only goal scorer in that fixture. Palvidi scored quite a lot though in the last Champions League tournament, and they even have the Croatian youngster Franjo Ivanovic to rely on now. Hopefully it doesn't end up like Musa though. Other youngsters that they've just acquired, Amar Dedic from Bosnia, Rafa Obrador. It's an energetic side and they're not going to make it easy for any of their opponents. Up next, I'm going for a side that finished 17th place in the Premier League last season, Tottenham. They must be so grateful they won that Europa League final, not just for the silverware, but to be in this competition. While Manchester United go on to lose to Grimsby Town, Tottenham are competing amongst the world's best, and I think this squad had made some improvements. Obviously, we'll all miss Ange, and his coldest quote will go down remembered for a lifetime. But Thomas the Frank Engine seems to have a more organized plan with this team. Their biggest blow, of course, is James Maddison getting a huge injury, but Kudus is looking incredible. Paulinho, Richarlison's already scoring more goals than he has before. They've had a strong enough start to the season under Thomas Frank for me to be convinced that they have what it takes to just finish outside the top 8. Maybe that's a bit too high, but I don't see them getting eliminated too soon either. They definitely have a very doable schedule as well, so if they fail to do it, it's all on them. Now, 10th place. This could either age really well or really badly. I'm putting Napoli. There's definitely going to be some skepticism around this team, as Antonio Conte, throughout Champions League history, doesn't have the best record amongst the top managers. The furthest he's ever made it in the tournament, I believe, is the quarterfinals. Not to mention, Lukaku also suffered a heavy injury. But with the midfield of Kevin De Bruyne, Ballon d'Or nominee Scott McTominay, underrated Lobotka, to new potential signing Rasmus Højlund. I know he was horrible at Manchester United, but he's uniting with his United teammate. He could very much find his form again. I also think they got a favorable schedule in their hands, so if they fail to pull through, it really is on them, just like Tottenham. The last team I'm placing just outside that top 8 is Atletico Madrid. Totally revolutionized side. It might be a bit hard to call how they do. In fact, they have not had the best start so far in La Liga. But last time we saw this side in some questionable form, they turned up miraculously. I think it is just going to take some time for this team to gel well together. But the Champions League isn't starting right away, so I think they've got time. So many new cool signings like Hansko, Thiago Almada, Cardoso, Raspadori, Alex Baena. We'll see if it pays off for Atletico Madrid to continue to trust Diego Simeone. I wouldn't be surprised if they fall off more mid-table, but I would be shocked if they do get eliminated this early. I still think they're a quality side. Despite some hiccups here and there, they should be able to advance to the playoffs minimum. Okay, so my camera died last night and I forgot to charge my batteries. So now it is the day after the draw at the time of this recording. Maybe it's a good sign that I did need to wait another day to finish this recording, because looking at the standings that I've made, I do think I need to make a few changes. I am going to stick with my top 8 and playoff teams, but I do want to change the order of the playoff phase a bit. Starting out with Bodo, who, like I said, I still think could push through, but maybe I put them a bit too high, so I'm going to swap them with Monaco. As for the teams higher on this list, I did mention Atletico's poor form to the start of this season. I still think they'll improve, but them being too high on this list, I think is a bit of a stretch. Might be a bad idea, but I'm going to switch them with Manchester City. Napoli as well, I am worried that Lukaku injury will haunt them more than I predicted. It's not making much of a difference, but I will switch them with Tottenham. I genuinely think Tottenham do have a chance to get into the top 8 with the schedule they've got, but I'm still going to leave them out for now. Some of these changes might not even mean much. I mean, you saw last time the standings were really down to the wire in terms of goal difference and all that. Anyway, now let's finally move on to the top 8. Apologies for my indecisiveness. At 8th place, just avoiding the playoff round, is Inter. The Champions League finalists that got battered, yes, I think they can still push for a top 8 finish despite Inzaghi's departure. Their squad hasn't had many big names leaving, just a few minor changes. I might be biased, but I love their new choices like the Brozo regen Petar Sucic, Brazilian Luis Enrique as well. Their pot 1 and 2 fixtures can definitely go either way, but 3 and 4, surely they're getting 3 points in each of those. I'm predicting Inter do get over that shell shock of that UCL final and regain their confidence. They also didn't have a Club World Cup to remember, but I think they'll be fine in the early stages of this tournament. 7th place, this team didn't even make it to the top 8 last time, and who knows, they might not this year as well, but I'm still going to be safe and pick Real Madrid. The Champions League Kings are the only club to play in over 500 UCL matches. Now ruled under Xabi Alonso with Ancelotti's departure. Maybe they will lack that tactician leader figure in the midfield now with some of those legends gone. We even really felt Kroos's absence last season, but it's a new era with new ideas, with some fresh options like Dean Huijsen and Trent Alexander-Arnold, who of course is already making his return to Anfield. If he even plays, that is. There are some rumors that Carvajal has secured a spot over him. That fixture regardless is going to be incredible. There is so much history between these two teams, and Real Madrid do not have a pretty schedule either. Karat will welcome them with open arms. They're ecstatic to play Los Blancos. 12-hour flight from Madrid though won't be exciting. They should handle that fixture well though, and yeah, UEFA cannot get enough of them playing Man City. It's always a great watch, but I can't tell if I'm getting bored of seeing these guys always play one another at this point. I'm not too worried about Mbappe, especially with him now settled at Madrid properly. This should be a better season for Real Madrid. But just above them, I'm putting the club that got the best of them last season, Arsenal. Not even an Arsenal fan, and that was one of my favorite matchups last season. Declan Rice scoring his first 2 free kicks of his career against Real Madrid is crazy. Now, they did get halted in the semis last time by PSG, but they did finish top 8. And I think they can again, as they've had a great transfer window. Getting a proper striker, the top goal scorer in Europe last season, Zubimendi, Eze. Arsenal are quite stacked now. I don't know if they have what it takes to lift a trophy at the end, but surely they'll have a good Champions League campaign, at least in the beginning. It is not an easy schedule, though. I hope they don't get embarrassed from Bayern like they did in the past. But other than that, I think it's doable for them. I don't think they're going to go through this league phase with ease, but they'll still show that they're a convincing side regardless. Just in front of them, I'm putting another Premier League club, Chelsea. The Club World Cup winners have got some historic matchups here. Hopefully, Drogba is in attendance against Barcelona. This team for the past few years have been trying to regain their stature, but I believe that they'll have a solid Champions League return, proving that they don't fear any opponent from that Club World Cup final, defeating PSG 3-0, something nobody expected. João Pedro has been a phenomenal signing so far, instant impact from him. I'm definitely expecting big things from Cole Palmer once he recovers from his injury. Midfield of Caicedo and Enzo looking stronger and stronger. I think they should be happy with some of their opponents. Maybe they'll slip further down, but I'm predicting top 8 for the Blues. Now at 4th, I'm putting Bayern, who didn't make it to the top 8 last time, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't once again, as they do have quite a difficult schedule. But I think they can go head-to-head with the top teams this time more, and for the underdogs, get some big scorelines going their way, which would help their goal difference at the end, just like what we saw against my club last season. Musiala's injury is a huge blow, but Alphonso Davies should finally be returning for that second match day. Club's already off to a flying start in the Bundesliga as well, where Harry Kane already bagged a hat-trick. I have good faith that Bayern this time around, even with some skepticism over company. 3rd place, I'm going for the UCL title holders, PSG. Yes, their schedule looks deadly, I know. Dembele returning to the Camp Nou will be cinema, but let's not forget, this is literally PSG. I know they had a shaky start to the season in the CL, but that was when Enrique was still working on the squad. Even though they failed to win the Club World Cup at the end as well, they were still destroying every team they faced up until the final. That's why it was such a shock that Chelsea gave them the reverse scoreline. I do think PSG are past the phase of worrying about a difficult draw now. Their squad does look more united than ever. Well, apart from Donnarumma, who did leave. So yeah, maybe I'm a bit concerned about his replacement, but I still think they'll be just fine. Now at number 2, I am putting Liverpool. Last time they finished first in the league phase, cruising through even with the match to spare against PSV. And now on paper, they look even more deadly after this transfer window. I am worried about their defensive depth at the time of this recording. I do think they need to make some new signings, for example, in the back line, but the attack should be no problem. They have so many players to utilize. Isak's coming in soon, surely. Even with Frimpong's injury concerns, we even saw Szoboszlai turn into the perfect fullback against Newcastle. Florian Wirtz has had somewhat of a slow start, but I think he'll get better with the rest of this team. Not an easy schedule, but I believe they can get another good result against Real Madrid at Anfield. Traveling to Istanbul is not ideal with Galatasaray's atmosphere, but they can handle the pressure. Liverpool surely will get in the top 8, maybe not this high, but I have faith in them to impress. That means at number 1, I'm putting Barcelona, who actually finished second last time. Does this mean I think they'll win the entire Champions League? No. But I still think they have what it takes to be very convincing in the league phase. Yamal, despite the lifestyle, I think his ambition is still high and will continue to carry forward as one of the best talents we've ever seen. Rafinha surely can replicate or at least get close to the numbers he pulled off in the Champions League last season. He tied with Guirassy as the top goal scorer. How much will Rashford be used? I don't know. The Ter Stegen situation is a bit weird, but they overcame the rest of the season without him last time. Barcelona, I see being one of the strongest teams in the world again, just like last season. Under Hansi Flick, they've been incredible. We'll see if the other managers this time are able to read his tactics better, but I still think Barcelona will have a season to remember. Just hopefully they don't get as unlucky as last time when they blew it to Inter. Well, there you have it, guys. Those are all of my Champions League predictions for the league phase. As always, let me know your predictions in the comments below. Where did I mess up? Looking at the standings from last season, I'm sure most of us did not expect many of those outcomes. Manchester City, Juventus being so low. Honestly, looking at my table, I didn't really go for too many upsets, and we could surely see some more. I do not expect this to age well at all. I do miss the group stage only for the prediction videos. Those are much easier to gauge and all that. But we'll see what happens regardless. Once this tournament actually kicks off, I'll appreciate this league phase again. Anyway, thank you all for making it to the end of this video. Don't forget to hit the like if you want to see me upload Europa League predictions as well. Take care. La cu noci.